Electricity company solto mimbale Gambia Banko Kanjang, Senegal, Mali, Nigeria and in Sierra Leone.
On Africa ITV. This is a live event, and I am Malik Jones. And today I will be looking at COVID-19 as it engulfs the global world, and looking in particular how the pandemic is affecting the Gambia and the interventions made by government, and of course interventions made by the United Democratic Party. In that vein, I have with me as guest on this platform, which is a live event, the Honorable Usainu Dabo, the Secretary General and leader of the United Democratic Party. Honorable Dabo, welcome once again.
Thank you.
This is going to be the third time we are sitting on a platform, if as far as I can recall. I am looking at the pandemic from a global perspective, but in particular, let us look at the Gambia. The pandemic struck the Gambia back in March 17th, and I'm sure we are all suffering in one way or the other. What has been your assessment?
Well, my assessment of the situation is that government has put in a lot of efforts, although the efforts put in is not really addressing the situation holistically. Nonetheless, it is not as if there was no efforts done, and I believe probably we ought not have waited until the pandemic struck the Gambia before putting our acts together. We knew, or at least the medical world knew, since December 2019 that there had been an outbreak of this coronavirus, in China, and of course, you know that it is transmitted, by persons to persons, and there have been a lot of traveling, from across that part of the world to West Africa, and vice versa. So we at least ought to have put ourselves on guard that in the event, we start creating scenarios that in the event that this pandemic affects the Gambia, what do we do? We just didn't have to wait until March and then start putting our acts together. But nonetheless, as steady as our actions were, I think government has really put in efforts, and I want to encourage the government to push ahead with its plans. I think the frontline workers have been doing tremendously well. I have always commended the Minister of Health. He has been there as the commander, in the battlefield, not only drawing out the strategies for what we didn't mean the combat will be carried out, but was there also to effectively execute this. So I think government in general and the Ministry of Health particular should be commended for what they have been doing.
The World Health Organization and the health authorities here in the Gambia has been setting guidelines which people should follow in order to mitigate the spread of the virus. Has this been adhered to?
Well, I don't think it has been strictly adhered to, and I believe that is because maybe the vast majority of the people are in denial that the coronavirus is in the Gambia, and I don't think anyone should be in denial. And we should all accept the reality that the coronavirus is with us here, and that it has no cure yet, and the only way really to combat it is to abide by the guidelines given by the World Health Organization and of course endorsed by our health ministry. And there has to be uh, persistent calls by leadership. If you remember, there was a time I had called on the leadership that the president should come out and give us the leadership, and this, the rest of us should follow. I didn't think that I didn't that any of us, we could, but I don't think that it was appropriate for any of us to really uh, take up what I would consider as the leadership role in this fight. When I gave out the wash and stations, I appealed to the government. Then government hadn't done anything. I appealed to the president to come out and lead us. When I demonstrated how we should do the hand washing, I again appealed that the president should come out and lead us so that we follow. And I think it was an appropriate call, and I think I was uh, giving to the president or drawing his attention to his very vital role in circumstances of this nature.
You mentioned that people are in denial. Why, of all the countries in the world, the people of the Gambia seem to deny and act without giving due thought that this is a killer virus?
Well, I guess this might take on it. I guess it's because so far we have only have one death, and I pray to God that it remains at that. If there were multiple deaths from this, people will accept the reality. But I pray to God that we do not have any more deaths. And I think those people who have been found tested positive. Our health workers have done a tremendous job in ensuring that they're still alive, and I think some of them have recovered and even discharged. So I think that is really commendable. So because the death rate is virtually zero, I think that is why some people are really in denial. But I don't think we really should be in denial. Yeah.
Is it that Gambians, some people may be infected and they carry the virus as asymptomatic, but then, the virus has an incubation period, as we all know, of 3 weeks. But then you've just pointed out that there's only one death that has been recorded. In other words, we would say zero rate here in the Gambia, and that must have led to shall I say, people not actually caring.
And even, Mr. Jones, let me say that I've even heard some people who doubt that single individual, that one person who
Whether he died of
whether
it.
he died of the
That is true.
coronavirus. I think some people are even doubting that. So what I want to say is that the entire, both the traditional, religious, opinion leaders and other leaders should really be engaging with the public and bring it to them that this is a reality. I understand that this will reach its peak in June, July, and God knows what would happen God knows how much lives will be taken away by the coronavirus during those 2 months. So we ought to really abide by the guidelines now so that none of us becomes a victim of this deadly virus.
What should enforce those guidelines to be followed? Strictly, by the way, strictly.
Well, really, I believe the coordinator that has been appointed will certainly come out with strategies and propose, I hope, reasonable proposals for the enforcement or for getting people adhere to the guidelines. But you see, it is also not just enough to put the guidelines, but what will also make the guidelines workable. I think that is important.